Sociedad civil, por favor.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, we would like to underline that the translation of the HLP report is a minimal requirement to ensure an inclusive discussion. And unfortunately, this is not the first time that it happens that we cannot discuss the valuable contribution of the HLP in the CFS because of lack of financial commitment. This makes it also difficult and impossible to have a fully inclusive analysis by the civil society mechanism. Despite this, we would like to thank the HLP and its team for its work. However, we also want to recall that the task assigned was difficult. Indeed, the CFS assignment assumed that MSPs, as suggested in SDG 17, are indeed the prime way forward to generate funding and improve food security and nutrition. This makes it more difficult for the team to address their limits and inherent potential contradictions and to assess their suitability, in particular, as compared with other instruments and mechanisms. Also, the assignment was framed in such a way to mix funding and improving food security and nutrition, leading to governance contradictions, since today it is far too often funding and investments and donors and investments priorities that condition public policy rather than the other way around. Despite this, the HLP report can be a first step, and we would like to propose the CFS to engage in further work by following on the following issues. First, fill the independent evidence gap on the contribution of MSPs to food security, nutrition, and right to food. Second, to explore how to respond to the need to establish a policy framework to ensure that MSPs are effectively contributing to the realization of the right to food. In that regard, we want to stress the following questions. First, whose interests are being served? In its definition of MSPs, the report continues to conflate collective interests, by that the interests of the members of a particular MSP, with public interests, although it footnotes also the dangers of doing so. Regarding finance, while blended finance could indeed leverage means, evidence shows that it's not focusing on those left behind, as they are not appropriate for lower income countries, those states in which a majority of the world's most vulnerable to food insecurity reside. The second question is, how do we address power imbalances and conflicts of interests? These issues cannot be overcome by simply by improving participation conditions of the weaker partners within the MSPs, ignoring the economic, organization, and political power dimensions. Third question is accountability to who? The definition of accountability adopted in the report fails to adopt a human rights approach to accountability, as it has been adopted in the Global Strategic Framework of the CFS, whereby states as duty bearers are accountable to citizens as right holders. It also fails to address how other parties, cooperation, academia, international institutions, NGOs, can be held accountable. The three of these actors are distinct actors and cannot be considered as equal parties in MSPs. Finally, we propose that the CFS Bureau, together with the CFS Advisory Group, addresses the follow-up on this HLP report once the report has been translated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.